Is it believable? No. It's high fantasy. But do I want to see how they can take her down? I still want it to.
Hi, this is Juniper.
Hello, this is Elle.
And welcome to our pod. So, what are we talking about today?
So today we're doing something a little different that we haven't done on this pod, which is to talk about a Hong Kong drama. I mean, it's a Hong Kong / China production. But in Hong Kong, I've referenced it before. There's a network called TVB, and they do like primarily all of the entertainment in Hong Kong, which is an island city. And so it's a Cantonese drama, and there's one that I watched recently, and that I actually enjoyed. You did watch it, but you didn't enjoy it as much.
Oh, I watched it for professional integrity. No, because we were going to talk about it, not because I wanted to. So I didn't watch the whole thing because there's only TVB. I think you mentioned, right? You sent me the link. TVB is very strict about content being out there, and you have to subscribe. So you have a subscription. I'm not a native Cantonese speaker. I'm not from Hong Kong. I grew up watching some TVB, but not a lot. So, yeah, I watched the 3 episodes that were available. So that I have a point of reference.
So the name of this Hong Kong TVB drama is called Darkside of the Moon.
Which I thought was a Transformers movie. No.
Or Pink Floyd or something like that, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Pink Floyd. It's more Pink Floyd, but wasn't there a Transformers movie called The Dark of the Moon, I think, not The Dark Side. But you get it.
So in Cantonese it's黑色月光, which just means black moon. So the story
Moonlight.
Moonlight. Yes, that was one of our last pods.
Isn't it? 月光.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
月光.
No, so black moonlight. Anyways, so
we'll have a lot of Chinese lessons.
With my random Cantonese. So I grew up watching TVB, and they churn out lots and lots of dramas. And actually, it's been years since I actually sat down and watched a full TVB from beginning to end, because the production has gone up in value, I would say, in scope, because they're trying very hard to compete with China's entertainment industry and South Korea's as well, because they were sort of leaders in Asian content for a long time, and then they just kind of fell to the wayside. Where
in the 80s
so K-dramas and C-dramas are all the rage,
a long time.
And Hong Kong could not compete at the international level. So I think they're trying now, but it's still, like you said, because they're so strict with their copyright. Like, it's actually very hard to find episodes unless you have their app, but I'm sure there are ways, if you really want to watch it, there are ways to find it, but unfortunately probably without subtitles. But I still want to talk about this drama because it was one of the first few dramas I actually sat through from beginning to end, and I really enjoyed it for probably not very obvious reasons. So the story, I'm just gonna summarize a little bit, which is Tavia Yeung, who is a well-known Hong Kong actress, but she had been on hiatus for 6 years. So this was her comeback drama. So I think it was given a little bit higher budget to promote her. And it's also done with China. So there's a Youku. Youku is their company that is also putting money into this drama. So it's a very more expensive drama for TVB. And so her character is that in 18 years ago, as in her early 20s, she and her younger sister were drugged and sexually assaulted by 2 men who come from, one of the men comes from a very rich family. And in present day, she has been scheming for the last 18 years to exert her revenge. But she does it in a way where she doesn't really get her hands dirty. It's almost because these people are so awful. She's biding her time where they will get their comeuppance due to their own miserable actions and horrible actions.
She does help them along from the 3 episodes I watched. she is pretty underhanded, but it's revealed that she has good reason to be underhanded, I'd assume, so that it somehow whitewashes her actions. Though to say, especially given what's in the headlines lately in Hollywood,
Yes,
the PR
PR machine. Yes.
war of words. You know who I'm talking. Yeah, between Blake Lively and Justin Baldini. It does make you say, like, it makes you wonder about PR professionals, because that's what she's in, right? The underhanded tactics, the scheming. It does not put him in the good light in either case.
I don't think you're supposed to 100% sympathize with her. Like, she is not... I mean, when you show a revenge, right? Revenge dramas of any type, it's always that moral gray area. And so with her... So her character's like... Okay, so like her character is sort of a shell of a person, right? She doesn't have any romantic relationships. She barely has any friends. She's very driven. She's also tries to be independent. She has two sisters. She has an older sister and a younger sister. The older sister was not one of the victims, but her life has also been in shambles because the aftermath of this assault is that she tried to report the two sisters, the younger sisters, tried to report to the police, but the police themselves, one of them, he's corrupt. He got bought by the rich family, so he got rid of the evidence. He actually tried to kill them. He's like, yeah, I'll take you guys home after the assault happened, and he actually ended up throwing them down the side of a mountain, like a cliff, like a foresty looking mountain. So they survived, but he had left them for dead. So they couldn't trust anyone. They didn't trust the police. They didn't, and then
he wasn't very good at killing people. By the way, that's all
like
he did.
A big plot hole for me.
I was like, wait, he put on gloves to throw them down a hill? And then, but what were the gloves for? Like, was he going to leave prints on their clothing?
Well, so
like, how does that work, right? And then...
Like, I guess he wouldn't leave DNA on them. But, like, yeah, like, he could have, if he really wanted to make sure it was done, like, many ways. You throw them in an ocean. I mean, it's an island. You can throw them in the ocean, or you can actually do something, more immediate, and then toss them down. But, yeah, it was a plot hole.
Is that what the sister is paralyzed because she hurt herself going down the hill? Or
but it was also later on, it was mentioned it was a little bit psychosomatic too. Like the trauma made her unwilling to do physical therapy. So she was also kind of she was younger, so she was actually worse in terms of her mental health. The trauma hurt her more. The main lead, who's the middle sister, she felt a lot of guilt that she accidentally got her sister involved, because she herself, even though she's a victim, she was like better mentally able to handle it.
Yes. Well, also, I know she mentioned, I'm sure they revealed that later, that it was her fault, like you said, that the sister was even there.
So here's the interesting thing. So I'll talk about what happens. It's a two-part. So the whole thing is like 25 episodes. So it's actually long for TV. TVB, most dramas are like they're usually just 20
thank
episodes.
God.
With horror, usually the endings. You and I talked offline. TVB has a record.
No, 20 episodes is long even for TVB. Remember back in the day, they used to be 15 episodes, which was like perfect length.
But they historically, for me, have never been able to give you a nice ending. That's why TVB has not been successful, I think. Like, they'll try to do a lot, and then the endings always suck. Like, to some point where...
Hold on. Let me... Hold on there. C-drama, come on. You telling me C-drama has good endings?
Yeah, but you're like, wait, like, you really want them to just do it right, and they can't. But this one with the ending was also very interesting. So, okay, so it's a two-part. So the first part, I would say, okay, the midpoint is around episode 13. And spoilers. So in the first 13 episodes, she's just trying to go after the rich guy. So the story is that he was sent abroad to England after the assault. So she has not been able to have access to him. And so with her scheming, she works in PR, in public relations, and she's very successful and good at like PR crisis management. And so like the bigwigs all hire her, and she's very calm and can execute very well. And so she convinces, so she gets close to his family, his father, who's actually a tyrant in itself. He's not a good man either, because he would beat his son. So the son comes from a broken family, a rich but broken family. And so she convinces the rich father that, oh, your son needs to come back and be the face of the company. There's a crisis at the company. And that's how she's able to get him back. And she does not hide her identity. So it's interesting to me is that she doesn't pretend to be someone else. She doesn't disguise herself. She's like, he recognizes her right away. He remembers her name. Yes.
Which I was shocked by. Because she looks nothing like her younger self.
She doesn't like come up with a new identity. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Like for me, the appeal was like, oh, how is she going to pull off this revenge when she's like in plain sight, right? And so I would say the most salacious parts were definitely like some of the flashback sequences showing the assault, which I didn't want to see, but I understood they wanted to show you that this is the baggage she's been carrying. I don't feel like they did it in a exploitative way. And so you kind of feel anger for her. And so the first 13 episodes, you're watching this cat and mouse game happen, right? And it escalates. And then episode 13, the male villain is killed. I mean, he dies. He's like on the run and he dies. And you're like, what? Wait, there's like another 12 up.
Oh, the Playboy guy, the son, the scion. How does he die? I want to know because I'm not watching the show, right? Like, I want to know all of the spoilers. How does all the people get their comeuppance?
Oh, it was.
I hope it's fun.
So,
because that's the part of watching these type of dramas. You want to see the bad guys get their comeuppance in a salaciously fun way.
I think the way they did it was actually well crafted. So first of all, so she herself does not get her hands dirty, but she has people helping her, and they're people who are sort of more gray areas as well. So the first is that she has a male friend who was also a childhood friend. He actually went to prison because he was trying to exact revenge for her when they were still young. He threw like a cocktail Molotov into the rich person's house and then he got arrested. So he came out and so they schemed together. So she has a friend and he takes on a job as a driver for the rich playboy. So he's infiltrating the family that way. And then she's on the outside doing the PR stuff.
The rich people not do any background checks on the driver.
It was weird to me because in the flashback, the father saw the victims. He was at the scene like, helping clean up. So I'm like, why would he still allow it? I think because she's so good at her job. She's like, well, she can't touch them, right? He knows he's safe. Like, all the evidence is gone. So he's like, well, I'll just I'm paying you to fix my PR issues. Like, because his money is worth more to him than whatever this other issue was, right? So I feel like that's how they got around that. But, so the first, very unrealistic. The first victim, the first person she was able to exact revenge on was the police officer who had attempted to kill them physically, like threw them down the side of the mountain and cliff, and she did it in a way where his son, so he's a police officer and his son is also a police officer. So in the last few years, she moved into an area where his son was living and she would go jogging and she befriended him and they became like jogging buddies. And he has no idea that she knows who he is, right? But he actually likes her, I think. It's like very weird, like early where he's interested in her, but he's a younger guy. And so she uses that relationship to kind of, and he's a very righteous police officer. He's not shady like his father. And so when the father does die, it was an accident. It was like a car hit him, but she had already sent evidence to the son. So the son was already trying to get the facts from his dad. Like, he's like, were you involved in, the shady stuff? Because she sent like bank statements of money he was hiding. And she told him, like, if you look around his house, there's an SD card full of incriminating evidence. And so he's the first to go. But then now she has a police officer on her side because...
Wait, hold on. He was just accidentally killed? It wasn't even like a targeted hit?
He was like running. It was unfortunate, but she was satisfied because he's dead now. She's like, I don't care how he dies. He died.
But he doesn't know why he got his comeuppance. What's the point of a revenge if the bad guy doesn't know that it's actually comeuppance?
His son knew, and his son confronted him. So that was worse for him than anything, right? To lose the respect and like admiration that his son had for him as a police officer. So
wait, so he has some remorse?
No, he didn't have remorse. It was more like as he's dying, he knows his son knows the truth of how horrible and awful he is. I think that's the comeuppance, right? That in the eyes of your child, you were like despicable. I mean, I think that's most parents don't want their kids to know. Like, if you're a messed up person and you hide under a facade of I'm a caring father, I'm a good police officer, I don't do anything illegal, and suddenly your son like has all the evidence and knows you're that person, I think that hurts more than dying itself in some sense. I mean, it's very Asian too, I feel. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're that messed up, it's kind of hard to hide
that. So that was victim, the first guy that died. So now she's after the rich family, right? The father and son. So she's after the people who were directly involved. So the father, rich father, basically gets into a fight with the son, and the son, because he would beat his son regularly. And I don't remember the details exactly, but basically they chased each other down the street, and the son killed the father. Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
The son killed the father. It was a graphic scene of two men like fighting, like beating with golf clubs, and you're like, what was happening? But it was like, but it was very violent. Oh, I remember, because the rich guy's wife was poisoning him with like she would put like poison in his tea. So he found out his wife and son were poisoning him, and he got mad, and so the father was like,
why were they trying to kill him?
Or make him so weak? I mean, he was on the verge. I think they said he was close to death. Had the poison been, like, had he consumed more extra doses over the course of months. Like, she was slowly poisoning him, because she was like, my son, this is the only way he can become like head of the company, because it's a dysfunctional family basically. Tavia, the main lead's character, her role was that she, because she's in the house, so she was looking at the tea suspiciously, because like no one was allowed to drink it except for the father. So she got it accidentally splashed on herself, and then she got that tested, and that's how she knew there was poison in it. And she sent the evidence to the father.
Here,
yeah, spill some hot tea on my shirt. So,
sorry, that was I didn't see the scene. Just funny, right? When the way you described it, I'm like, oh, how do I get someone to spill some tea?
So she's like giving hints of other people's, right? They're doing it to themselves, but she, like you said, she had her hand in pushing it along, and then so the father got angry. He beat the son. The son like basically killed the father in self-defense, but it was also brutal because it was also like retaliation for all the years of abuse. By the time the son now he's a fugitive. He's on the run for the attempted murder or the murder of his father. And then he gets on a bus, and then the bus had a bus explosion, and so they said, "Oh, he's dead." So you're like, "What?" So they're like, "Oh, how are you sure?" They're like, "Yeah, we found like his fingerprints on one of the victims or whatever." So you're like, "Oh, he's dead." And she's like, "What do I do now?" And they're like, "Oh, you can enjoy your life, right?" So you're like, "Oh."
But how did the bus explode?
Yeah, I don't remember, like bus crash or something. Yeah, it was like it happened off camera, so it was like them talking about it, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I know."
Maybe he's not dead.
So you're watching this, you're like, "What? But what else?" So the whole time I'm telling you this, there's also a wife. There's a woman who marries the rich boy, but but she's but it's an arranged marriage, because her grandfather is even wealthier than the father of the playboy, and so it's like a business deal, like to get married.
I think she also was obsessed, right?
Yes, she's like this guy since her early 20s, right? So in the flashbacks, they actually knew each other. So she actually knew her name. The actress name is Rosina Lam. So she actually knew Tavia when they were young. And so Tavia is like, "Oh, I'll help you with your PR and all of that." And so when you first watch her, you feel kind of sorry for her. Like she is the illegitimate granddaughter that was later brought in.
Oh, she's not legit.
Yeah, they called her. They said, "Oh, she's the illegitimate granddaughter." So like the grandfather's really mean to her, and you're like, why is he so mean? He's also an interesting character because he's very unremorseful as a rich guy. He's like, I do what I want. I am who I am, and I have power and money, and he doesn't care who he steps on to get there. So like you said, there's a lot of unlikable characters. But because he never did anything horrible to Tavia, she's also like, she's utilizing these interactions and connections to help give herself a leg up when she is going after the people she feels are responsible. So you're watching this and you're like, okay, after the guy dies, what happens? And at this point, the wife also has divorced him. So everything is starting on a clean slate as of episode like 14. And then a thing clicked in Tavia's head where when she had confronted the guy who raped her, she's like, why did you drug me? He's like, why would I drug you? I can have any girl I want. And it put like a seed in her head. She's like, wait, he's not the one that drugged me. So the whole time, the whole 18 years, she's like, there's another person that she had never entered her mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're like, oh, this is interesting. Now it becomes like a whodunit, right? Like it went from revenge to a whodunit because now, like, who's this mystery person? And so one of the things that was in the police officer's SD card was footage from... So she worked at a cafe, like a coffee shop.
Wait, hold on. Why does he have an SD card full of stuff? Other than for dramatic convenience.
Himself, I guess. Like he has evidence of things that happened, but if the rich people ever did anything to him, he's like, I have evidence to protect himself. So to say it's not just me, right? Like, you guys are really the bad guys. You just pay me to do X, Y, Z.
If you had evidence, I wouldn't just put it on SD
I mean,
card.
He had it locked in the most... It's not even a safe. It was like a wooden lockbox that the son just took a crowbar and
I'd be like, I'm uploading that to my private, like, OneDrive, Google Drive, distributed all the way around the world in a safe box somewhere else.
He carried it on his body. Like, it was like in a fanny pack or something that he had. No, he would go home and put it in the wooden box. And then, no. But
if it's on him, all they have to do is blow him up in the bus or something.
Well, people don't know it's on him, but he had it on him until the Tavia's friend, the chauffeur, like, tried to slice his bag to get it. Like, and he noticed someone sliced open his bag. So then he put it in this wooden lockbox. But anyways, details aside. So now we're talking about who drugged Tavia when she was young. So she was working at a coffee shop, and she had a habit where before she closes shop, she'll make herself 1 cup of coffee, and then leave. And so she was getting off work. She said she went to the restroom. She came back. She drank her coffee. She felt like really woozy, and next thing she knew, like 2 guys came up and just dragged her to where the rich guy was. And so now she's like trying to figure out who did it. So I'm not going to go into details, but basically the wife, the Rosina Lam, she's the girl who drugged Tavia. And it's like the way they unravel her character was interesting, but I don't know. Like, I feel like as a villain, it's all based on a very narcissistic character who just wants to be rich and has nice things and be admired. And one could argue, is this a very interesting evil person, right, versus the guy who you just hate? Because so it turns out she's not even the illegitimate granddaughter of the rich guy. Like, he had a real granddaughter, but her mental capacity is of a child, and so he didn't want anyone knowing. He was ashamed of this real granddaughter. And then when the reporters were snooping around, this girl who is actually the daughter of a maid was like, oh, I'm his granddaughter. And so he's like, so he just said, yes, this is my granddaughter. And he just said, okay, you can play the character, make me look good, but you're not really my granddaughter. And so then it gets into this wackiness where they use his face and use AI face swap to convince these people like that she can take over the company, like when he's like in a hospital. And you're like, wait, what's happening? Because now, how is this woman who never like worked in an office suddenly gonna run like a multinational corporation, like, where it's like like a publicly listed company, and so she actually has a guy who worked for the grandfather work for her, but then he's not trustworthy. All of these characters are coming in and out, and you're like, is it believable? No. It's high fantasy.
High fantasy.
But do I want to see how they can take her down? I still want it to, because they do take her down.
Did they take her down?
But they take her down in the most almost obvious way. So the whole time we're talking about this, I have not brought in the male. There's a male lead. I have not mentioned him once. Oh.
Before you go there, though, why did she drug her?
So when they were young, the young playboy guy, he actually had a crush on Tavia, the young version of her. And she was just like, oh, he's like a spoiled rich boy. She was not interested in him. But the fake granddaughter, she liked him. But then his friend had given her something to drink because she got drunk, and he slept. The friend who's like a lackey, he slept with the fake granddaughter. And so when the rich playboy found out, he's like, oh, you're like a SLUT, like, yeah, he's like, I don't like, you're nothing, I'm not interested in you anymore. And then she saw him like hitting on Tavia at the coffee shops, because she also worked there part-time. And so she was so angry and jealous that she like got these two guys who were like in the neighborhood known for drug dealing, and she's like, hook me up with some drugs, and she told them to drug the coffee and just bring her to his house. So that's how she got these two guys to do it, and then she paid them with whatever, her wealth. She gave them money to do it. So,
but that doesn't make sense. If you're jealous, why would you just deliver the girl
because
to the
she
guy
was
you actually
assaulted,
like?
right? She didn't like him. It's not like they're in a romantic relationship, basically. And I know it's weird because it's not like she knew him to be like a sadistic person, right? Like, and I guess, I mean, the whole time you watch it from the victim's perspective. So in her mind, it's very, the whole thing was disgusting. But like if you come from the guy's mind, like, he's like, you came to me like you wanted it, right? And so it's very interesting when you find out it's the other girl that delivered her to him, like, because now it's like she's really the person that dragged them into this mess, because otherwise they would never have, that would never have happened, because he
was bad, but he wasn't gonna go kidnap her.
He's like, you came to me and I thought you liked it or wanted it or whatever, right? But she was also underage. So when you watch like the villainess, if you will, like, rise to power, because she becomes almost invincible, right? Like she took over the company, she has people working for her. How do you take her down? So there's a male lead. So I mentioned there's a cop who was sort of into Tavia, but there's another guy who lives in her building, and he does like stocks, like he's a finance guy, and he's good at what he does. And
is he the guy with the glasses at the beginning that plays goes to stockholders meeting or something, shareholders meeting?
I think so. Yeah, he's the one in front of all the monitors doing his trading or whatever. Vincent Wong. Yeah. Okay. So he likes Tavia, but he knows that she has this like agenda. Like, she needs to fulfill her vengeance before she can even like think about romance, right? So he's like, I'm here for you. I'll do what I need to do. And he basically offers himself to the rich girl, because she can't trust anyone, right? She's like, everyone's after me. At this point, she doesn't trust anyone, but she also needs help running a business. She has no idea how to run a business. So he convinces her that he's there to like be her knight in shining armor. Like, oh, I'll teach you how to do this. Oh, I'll help you run your stocks. Oh, I'll do all this stuff. So basically, at the very end, like, she's already thinking like, I want to marry this guy.
She wasn't suspicious at all. So
no,
random guy just showed up.
Like, they did a lot of things to make her believe like that he had a falling out with her. So there's another rich guy that he worked for. He's the nephew of the rich grandfather, but they never got along. And so he asked and he's really good friends with that guy, so he had him like fake a giant argument where she could see it happening, And so she thought he had a falling out with him. She's like, oh, you can come work for me. I know you're good at what you do. And she wants people to believe that like she can carry on and run this company. So when you're watching this, I think so her downfall was falling for the wrong guy, right? Like yes.
Again. She keeps falling. Well, it really her downfall is really her.
Yes.
But that's
the way
okay.
The
She's
way
a
that
greedy bitch.
she was able that they could take her down was because she believed him, so she trusted him with all of her finances. So basically he took all her money and power away. And and that was it. And so but legitimately
signed it away.
And then at the very, very end, she went like crazy, like she was in a mental institution. So anyways,
I think she was already crazy to start with.
So I would say like
okay.
Look, it's 20 something episodes. I mean, I've been talking a lot, and I feel like despite all the weird I don't know if it's plot holes or devices that they use, I feel like for a TVB drama that had sort of a slick budget, I know you didn't like the styling too much. I thought it was okay.
Well, I'll share my thoughts after.
I would say for once, the ending was satisfying because all the villains were taken down. Random people who you felt there were other people too I didn't even talk about. Like remember there was a second rapist, right, in the room who raped her sister. She had her own story, own journey of redemption. So there's like many more deaths that I didn't talk about. But when you watch this and you want to see people who deserve punishment, it is satisfying for that. And I think you did want to see her have a happy ending because there's one scene where her and the male lead, like they have a kiss, and it's a very raw like kiss scene where you can tell they like each other, but then she breaks down, like she cannot be physically intimate at all, and she's really apologetic. She's like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. Like she doesn't know what intimacy is. She's never really had it. And that's kind of like where I was like, I really felt they did it in a really respectful way to show how trauma can really ruin someone's life. Like she's not just like crazy bent on revenge, right? Like she's like a broken soul. So I feel like for her that was a really important scene. And so anyways, so after all of that, what thoughts do you have?
So I've only watched 3 episodes because that's the limit, right? And like I said, I pay 100% attention watching first episode. So I think you have to be in the right mindset going into the show. It's marketed as a revenge, satisfying revenge drama. In fact, that was like the hashtag on the episode on YouTube, which is I feel like I was asking you offline, I was like, is this all the rage these days? Because, the double, in Chinese drama land, there's a lot of those shows right now, right? Usually the ones we've watched recently of that nature are costume dramas. And like I said, the double was very theatrical. They did it on purpose. So it was like you knew you were watching a show. Because this is set in modern times, it's harder to swallow because you're like just like heightened ridiculousness, right? So that's what I'm saying. You have to be in the right mindset and throw that to the wind, right? Throw the realistic expectations to the wind to enjoy that. I thought the first episode was dramatically tense, so it did its job in that it made me wonder, what is this about? And they did reveal a lot, actually. Enough in that sense, right? They revealed enough to make you, if you cared, to want to know what happens. Second and third episode, I felt was like, oh, okay, now they're like pasted in the first one, so I felt like maybe they thought they could slow down and do more other stuff. So then it was like, well, where's this going? There's too many people being introduced. Yeah. There were a lot of people, okay? And I don't know if it's an actor or makeup issue. Everyone looked the same to me. Like the guys especially all look the same. I was like, why does everyone look the same, right? Like, who's who? It could be the same guy. It could be 2 different guys, right? And I'm just like, I'm having a hard time. And then I was very distracted by the aesthetics, as you already mentioned, which I told you offline, because I've always maybe have a, adjustment to some of the mainland drama aesthetics sometimes, right? Because they're very different culturally speaking to what I'm used to with American and British shows. But Hong Kong is almost a different story. Like this one, I was like, what are they wearing? Like I know they're supposed to be really rich and very expensive stuff, but it looks so chintzy put together that I was like, what is the shoe that's so expensive that looks like from Payless, you know?
The very
like,
important
why is
heels.
it like this? Like so right. So I was very distracted by that. And also what was distracting to me was the Tavia character. And it's because she probably, I don't know if it's on purpose or not, right? I haven't seen her anything else. It's just how she acts. Like, I don't think she's a bad actress. It's just that she feels so much more different from everyone else and so cold and old. So that's the other thing. Like, they're supposed to all be the same age group, right? But when I watched it, I was like, oh, she seems like an older auntie compared to everyone else, right? So I'm like, are you sure this is the same victim from like, whatever, 18, 20 years ago? Because she seems much older, right? All of that kind of made me, like, if my mind is wondering about all of these things or making commentary, obviously it's distracting. So, but that's probably because I'm watching it knowing I'm not going to be able to watch the whole show and with a critical eye. The other thing is, but knowing that it's 25 episodes, it makes it easier for me to swallow, right? Like, I can, if I wanted to watch something like that and want to see the comeuppance to these people, then this would be maybe a good choice to invest in, right? The other thing is, like I said, and you mentioned already, I found the people so unlikable, even though they're like caricatures, right? Cartoon villains. I was just like, why would I invest time watching them? And even the good guys aren't particularly palatable. So then you're like, you really have to be in the right mindset to want to watch these people interact for even 25 episodes.
I
Does that
agree
make sense?
Oh, it's one thing I did not mention is that this is sort of inspired by a K-drama that came out in 2022 called The Glory. And I actually binged like the first 6 episodes just to compare it. And the premise is different. I mean, it's still revenge, but the premise and where they are in past versus present day are different. But I would say that I felt like this is a more polished version, even though there's brutality in it. It's still more polished, and then it could be because it's a Hong Kong production. I feel like the K-drama was a little bit more brutal, the acting more raw. But if I had to compare the female leads, I actually prefer Tavia playing this character versus the Korean actress in Glory, because she's even colder. The Korean actress, like, she doesn't have any relationships with anybody. She doesn't have a family structure. Like, here, Tavia has sisters and an aunt. Like, she has family that kind of grounds her, where you believe, like, she's doing this for them, too. As much, you know, for herself and for her sister. For both sisters, right? Because their lives were ruined. And her parents suffered, too. And you don't have any of that baggage in the K-drama, where the woman's, like, on her own, vigilante style doing this. So, you know, just to put comparison, like you said, for revenge drama, this is probably, I mean, look, they could have ended this in a, again, horrible way where I would have been like, well, that was a waste of 20 something episodes, and oh yeah, people die, but not in a way where I was satisfied. Like, actually, after the credits roll, they focus on the villainess in the mental institution, where it's hinted she was going to try to find a way to get out. So she's not really dead, right? She's still alive. She's just locked up. So the I don't know if you want to call it, the threat is still there, or did Tavia really get full vengeance if she didn't get rid of her, right? Like, she got justice in some ways, but overall, I mean, okay, if I were to give this a rating, I would give like a 7.4. You know, like, I did finish it and I did enjoy it, but like, is it rewatchable? I don't think it's something I would rewatch, but I was invested to see how it would end. So there's that.
Yeah, I have to say that it is very consistent, even though you said this is a higher production value than what you've recently seen from TVB, and it's more of a co-production with Youku China. To me, it still very much has that flavor of older contemporary TVB dramas I used to watch. Right? Like, it's very Hong Kong to me. It's not how mainland dramas of this type will work out. The way they act, the way the cuts are done, edits
you said the cameras,
done, right?
You said
it's
the
a very
cameras
Hong Kong.
Have been updated.
No, the film quality or grain is exactly the same. So that's why I felt like I'm watching Days of Our Lives, that type of camera, right, for daytime soap opera, but put into a meant to be not daytime type of show, but with the daytime histrionics in the content. So I'm like, oh, my brain cannot reconcile.
At least they filmed on
to
location.
watch
It's not soundstage. Like, so that, you know, a lot of TVBs were filmed like partially in soundstage. This one,
Yeah.
like I said, it's a bigger production because they filmed on location. Almost, I think everything was on location. And I think parts of it was filmed in China. Actually, the funny thing is, like, there's a very iconic lamp. So she has no furniture. Like, that's why I said she's like a shell of a person. She has no furniture.
She lives in like a corporate bunker,
Yeah.
as far as I can tell.
She has that, like,
her doors
she
are
has
like
that arc
weird.
lamp that looks like a crescent moon. I thought that was a nice touch. And so, like, yeah. Oh, so one of the similarities with the K-drama is having all of the people she wants vengeance on. They're all like, she prints out all the pictures and puts it on the wall, like on a window. They did that in the K-drama as well, where she's just obsessively staring at those pictures, which is a little bit ominous too. But yeah, very
creepy.
Yeah,
I mean, I wonder if it's like you know how like there's like the Latin American telenovelas? It has that feel. It has that feel when I watch it. So like I said, there's a time and place and mood for watching shows like this. I just wasn't, ready for that. But I'm glad that you enjoyed it because, TVB does deserve some love, right? Even for good old times 6, because it was our childhood.
And also, I think, I mean, like I said, there's no romance in this either. So that was also a change of pace for me because I feel like the last few stuff we watched was like very romance driven, and this had a different direction. So. But anyways, that's all I have for today. So I'm glad you, thank you for listening to me talk about something that I know you weren't 100% like into, but like I still think if people are able to catch it and watch it, even if they don't catch this, I mean, there's Glory, which is on Netflix, but I think this one has a very, localized Hong Kong spin, and I think it's worth watching if you're into that type of show.
Well, it sounds like if you're into revenge dramas, right? You should watch. I mean, The Glory was very popular when it came out.
Yes.
So you should watch both, right? If you watch The Glory, maybe check this out if you can get access to it to do a comparison, right? So.
All right. Well, that's it for today.
All right.
Thanks for watching.